This video is sponsored by Skillshare. While there's definitely some things about this timeline that I don't care for, and makes me wonder what a variant one would look like if everything happened the way I wanted it to, I'm glad we can all agree that one of the best things to happen in it is the release of Glass Onion. It's such a great follow-up to Knives Out in that it's able to display its ability to tell a smaller, non-linear story in comparison to the original movie, but make it feel just as grand, puzzling, and satisfying with its execution and focus in order to properly compare. And while it's pretty clear with this progression of Benoit Blanc that it's mirroring the tactics similar to Doctor Who, introduce the series' main character by using a companion of theirs as the POV for the entire story in order to build up enough intrigue to give the Doctor more focus in more stories after said story is over, Glass Onion does it in such a way that while you know Benoit's client, his companion, is only going to be in this specific film, you end up still caring about them just as much as you do about Blanc and seeing him solve the case. It's also clear, now that there's more than one of them to properly witness them, that there are patterns in the mysteries that Benoit Blanc's involved in. From the underlying socio-political issues that ends up being the root of the mystery to begin with, and Blanc's companions, to continue the Doctor Who comparison, usually being women from backgrounds and ethnicities that are usually heavily affected by said socio-political issue that the movie is rooted in. The issue that Knives Out covered? White liberalism, or as I called it in the video I made for it back when I didn't know the proper terminology, being a wolf in liberals' clothing. That being said, I appreciate every reader who made me aware in my Knives Out video that calling Ana de Armas' Marta a person of color, when in actuality she's a white Cuban of Spanish descent, is part of the reason why the Hispanic discourse is so muddled in the first place. I greatly appreciate the call out. And while I absolutely see the Miles Bron and Elon Musk comparisons and agree with the Miles Bron and Elon Musk comparisons, the existence of dumb yet powerful billionaires is only a branch attached to the true root of the Glass Onion mystery. And for today's lesson, I want to focus on what that true root is. Not the dangers of dumb yet powerful billionaires, but the dangers of capitalism itself. Let's begin. Hey readers, Rian here, offering you analysis and perspective on your favorite bits of geek and pop culture media. And this video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online members and classes across 150 countries. You can use it to get inspired, learn new skills, and use what you learn to your benefit as you incorporate them into your own work as you take the next step in your creative journey. Now that it's a new year and I announced a whole lot of changes and additions to my content, one of the things I want to get better at is learning the ins and outs of different social media platforms to get more eyes on it. So in my free time, I'm taking courses on organic Instagram and TikTok growth, and just learning how to use social media in general from the likes of Benji Wilson and Aaron McGough. And honestly, despite me already having the hang of Twitter now, I might need to find a class to bone up in some ways to properly use it, now that a certain individual has purchased it and made a significant amount of changes to it. But thankfully, I partner with Skillshare again to give you another exclusive offer in case you were in the same boat as me. The first 1,000 readers to use the link in either the description box or the pinned comment below to sign up for the new year will get 1 month of Skillshare absolutely free. That's 1 month to learn the ropes of being a better artist, producer, writer, or just getting your work to more eyes like I am. Remember, the first 1,000 people to click on the link in either the description box or the pinned comment section below and sign up will get a 1 month of Skillshare for free. So make sure you do so, both to help out your own creative endeavors and to help support the channel as well. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, on to the lesson. Capitalism is control. And that is an angle that Glass Onion runs with the moment its concept is introduced to the story. Yes, we see the fancy and very expensive puzzle boxes that hold within them invitations to Miles' yearly retreats. Yes, we see Miles' luxurious home and his giant homage to where his career all started. Yes, we see his capability of purchasing the unpurchasable, a fantasy that a lot of us have only dreamed of. But while those are definitely testaments to Miles' wealth in a way that highlights the comparison to Musk for those of us who can easily spot the pretentiousness and privilege, while others are simply mad the comparison exists because they still believe we live in a society where they can be just as successful. You have to hone in on exactly what makes Miles the very stand-in for capitalism and how it entraps in the first place. What pointed me in that direction is when he explained to Benoit the very point of the disruptors, as he called a lot of them, and what he factored into both their separate and collective success.
If you want to shake things up, you start with something small. You break a norm or an idea or a convention, some little business model, but you go with things that people are kind of tired of anyway. Everybody gets excited because you're busting up something that everyone wanted broken in the first place.
To explain my train of thought right quick, this line immediately reminded me of the video I made about the role that modern-day Batman movies play in promoting propaganda, specifically regarding what I stated about The Dark Knight Rises. Through Bane and Talia al Ghul's master plan to destroy Gotham, the movie villainizes the disruption of societal norms that, while oppress the lives of a lot of regular people, a good amount of individuals who benefit from it are used to said norms, regardless of where they stand politically, and don't want to see them disturbed. Capitalism, at least here in America, is one of those societal norms, and ironically enough, it is one that individuals who do benefit from it are constantly trying to convince others that it's fine as is, that the real disruption needs to be the way previous individuals have been doing things within the system, not just the system itself. So when I heard Miles utilizing talking points, usually associated with that of oppressed peoples revolting against a form of systemic oppression, or one so heavily connected with it that at this point it might as well be a form of systemic oppression itself, all I was able to see, especially as the film progressed and we got a glance at the very nature of the cast of characters in question, was an individual who, like an idiot, is aware of and benefits from capitalism so much that he's able to utilize the traditional speaking points against it in order to constantly preach its necessity, and provide a select few individuals that he allowed to know what it's like to finally reach the level of success that most defenders of capitalism crave in order to prove his point. Because as we learn later on in the film, that's all that these disruptors are. Individuals that Miles put on so that it doesn't disturb capitalism, nor does it make things uncomfortable from those who benefit from it. If anything, it's actually Miles' actions, his wealth and power as the movie's human representative as capitalism, that's what's keeping them from truly being disruptors. Because as both the movie and real life has shown, capitalism just doesn't control. Capitalism corrupts. One of the biggest lies it has told, and it was able to convince the masses, is that through capitalism, anyone can be part of the 1%, that millionaire and millionaire status is within their reach. And as we've seen played out in real life, It's because of that impossibility that certain individuals go on and defend said millionaires and billionaires, whether from criticism or taxation, since they've seen the system work for so many others before them and hope to be in their number one day. The reality is that all of those individuals that are being coveted and worshipped by the members of the common people who wish for excess do not know that there is a selective distribution of wealth among their own to give off the impression that obtaining 1% status is possible among the disillusioned members of the working class. They always focus on the humble beginnings of the business they built that has since become the successful multinational corporation that it is today, instead of the insanely large sums of money nepotistically given to them in order to do so. So large most of the time that they'd still be financially fine if the venture ended up failing.
His first venture was movie phone for foot massages.
Did it work?
No.
As I stated before, readers, if Miles here represents capitalism as it currently exists, the disruptors represent the individual who are chosen by capitalism to perpetuate the lie to the masses that it works, that anyone can reach this level of wealth and power with the right level of determination, regardless of your upbringing, when in reality it is truly because you had the right connections to get you there. And as Glass Onion has shown with the disruptors, once you choose to be an actor in capitalism's commercial to help sell the lie of possibility to the masses, it's never just a favor for a favor contractual obligation in order to keep your place. Now you have to cater to any and all of its demands, knowing that if you refuse, your privilege as a benefiter can be just as easily taken away as it was given. This was realized among the core group of Miles' entourage after they successfully secured their new places in society and betrayed the brands in favor of not ruining their positioning with him, not once, but twice. When Andy sought justice in claiming she, not Miles, was the creator of the company's concept in order to keep him from fully investing in Clear with a K, and they sided with Miles.
That's a lie.
Order!
Your Honor, it's
Order!
a lie, Claire.
Counsel, get your client under.
Look me in the eye, Claire. You know it's a lie.
And when Heather, her twin sister, sought justice for Andy's death at the hands of Miles, once she found the much-needed proof that the concept of the company truly was her baby.
You would lie for a lie, but you won't lie for the truth.
The irony here is that while Miles deemed them the disruptors, both efforts from the brand seeking justice against Miles would have ended up disrupting their own position with capitalism if they didn't side with him. And let's not forget that the second time they all sided with Miles was even after it was revealed he murdered Duke Cody, one of their own, right in front of them, in an attempt to blackmail Miles into becoming the face of his upcoming news network, thanks to piecing together that he killed Andy thanks to being at the right place at the right time. While it provides a perfect analogy that it never plays out the same way when you try to game the system the way the system successfully games you, it's incredibly telling that the surviving disruptors were still unwilling to give up their goose that lays the golden eggs, despite piecing together that the goose in question is extremely dangerous. This was why seeing them finally be willing to stand up to Miles at the end of the movie didn't get any praise from me. Because not only did they do so, realizing that thanks to the plot device of Clear with a K being too volatile as a fuel source, disrupting so much of their status quo that their connection to capitalism was severed enough for Miles to no longer have any leverage against them, the fact remains that they were willing to keep silent about the brands twice so that they could keep the promise of privilege given to them by capitalism, so that the justice Andy initially sought didn't, quote-unquote disrupt or make things uncomfortable for those who benefited from it. Not to mention that 2 people died by the time it was guaranteed Miles no longer had a chokehold on their statuses, when those lives could have easily have been spared back when Andy was alive and well and made the initial call to action. But that, once again, brings us back to looking at Miles as both a critique of billionaires like Elon Musk and also a human embodiment of modern-day capitalism and how it works. Because not only can both be true at the same time, but it is true, especially when you consider the fact that capitalism covets. So, I completely understand why the comparisons to Elon Musk were made when it comes to Miles Bron, especially the aspects about him that were made apparent near the end of the movie. After all, there are plenty of real-life instances of people originally thinking that Musk was a genius due to not knowing the field of study he refers to, only to show how privileged and dumb he actually is when he does talk about something that someone has spent most of their lives learning about, to the point where they can completely answer the world's hardest question on the matter. And this is prominently displayed multiple times over the course of the film. Benoit Blanc pointing out the way he either uses the wrong word or makes up entirely new ones just to sound smart and sophisticated is the obvious fan favorite. This is also referenced whenever Miles is criticized for both purchasing things from other smarter people instead of making them himself once the wool of his genius has been removed from our eyes, despite us receiving hints to that being the case over the course of the movie. Like with the puzzle box.
My puzzle guy barely got the 5 done in time, and he apprenticed with Ricky Jay.
The murder mystery.
I hired Gillian Flynn to write the whole thing.
Oh, she's quite good.
She's goddamn expensive.
And the idea on how to eliminate Helen Brand when he thought it was her sister Andy.
It's like putting a loaded gun on the table and turning off the lights.
And while all these comparisons regarding Miles and Musk are accurate, you must remember that with Miles also being the human stand-in for capitalism itself in Glass Onion, all of these things that he does in this film in order to show off and pretend that he's smarter than he actually is, also highlights a very important point about its current state. You see, one of the biggest excuses about the necessity of capitalism as it exists here in America is that capitalism breeds innovation, and everyone and their mama and them knows that's a fucking lie. Because when you dive deeper past the pageantries and his palace and his invitations, Miles' inability to come up with an original idea all on his own, and his ability to take the credit for everything he claims perfectly reflects the current state of capitalism. Everything he had, he either bought or stole. Not even his ideas for a weekend of leisure were his true brainchildren. Just like we've seen from multiple corporations over the course of the previous decades, buying up smaller businesses, absorbing larger companies and corporations into themselves, buying up intellectual properties that were only created with the hopes of being bought by a larger company from jump, capitalism is less about what you can create and more about what you can control, even if what you control is people.
We didn't.
Readers, it's obvious that Glass Onion does a great job at telling its story through both the lenses of Benoit Blanc out to solve the next great case, both before and after finding out that Helen Brand was the one pointing him in the directions where to look, and Helen herself seeking justice for her sister's discredibility and even her death. And it was all done with the majority of people and news outlets reporting that the only thing that they've noticed regarding the film's hidden message was the commentary it was making on Miles being a stand-in for Elon Musk. But once you see how Miles also acts as a human manifestation of modern day capitalism itself, how it manipulates, how it corrupts, and how it truly breeds laziness instead of innovation, it becomes clear with everyone involved in the overall story of Glass Onion that it is also acting as a warning of how these steps are being played out in reality if you truly pay attention. And while the disruptors in the movie may not have truly been exactly that, one thing the film got right about what it will more than likely take to put a stop to real-world antics of capitalism is the tenacity and determination of a black woman, willing to burn it all to the ground.
Disruption.
This is a smokeless garden.
Fucking A.
But I digress, readers. Your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below what you thought of Glass Onion if you've seen it. Or if you feel like sharing with the rest of the class a film you've seen that the majority of people clearly saw something in, but you ended up seeing something more. Whichever question you decide to answer, I'd love to know your thoughts. A huge shout out to my patrons, both big and small, for helping make this channel possible. Make sure you check out the card at the end of the video to join, or click the link to it in the description box below. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.